Welcome to House Call with Dr. Mac, where you get a real doc with straight talk for the whole you. We are back in the House Call community, and I know I say this every single time I sit down with a guest, and I really, truly am, every single time I say this, over the moon excited that this particular person is here. And the reason is because I have a connection with mainly all the guests that come to the House Call community. And it is so awesome when I have somebody that we go way back with, who says, yeah, Keisha, sure, I'll come sit down with you. And that's what we have done today. We have Jeremy Anderson of the Grace Tour Next Level Living here in the House Call community. Welcome, Jeremy.
Thanks, Keisha, for having me.
Have mercy. This is one of those full circle moments I talk about, you know? So here in the House Call community, I talk about connecting our health dots. What we do is we have individuals come in and tell their health stories. We have healthcare providers and other experts to come in and give their perspectives. And our mission is that as people take us to their homes, bring us into their homes, allow us to make a house call with them, be it in their car or while they're exercising or gardening or whatever have you, as they are listening to the podcast, they're able to listen to other people connect their health dots. And they then in turn connect their own health dots and begin to experience whole person care. So I talk about connecting your health dots. I love to also connect the dot of how we're connected. So if you'll indulge me just a little bit more time, and then I'm going to let you loose on your story and what we came to talk about. But you're like my other little brother. I mean, this is so, I don't even know how to put this into words. How proud I am of you, first of all. And second of all, how now I'm like, wait a minute, you're married. You have a little person that God has entrusted you all with.
Uh-oh. Pray for it.
And you have a wonderful anointing on your head and a ministry that God has entrusted you and your wife with. And it is just an amazing journey that I'm actually just so fortunate to witness. And I thank you for allowing the Lord to use you and your wife. So we're connected because I knew you when you were a little knucklehead running around Huntsville, Alabama. And like I said, this is such a wonderful full circle moment for me. So we're here today because we want to talk about a particular aspect of your life that you may not always get a chance to talk about from your stage, whatever that stage may be it a school gymnasium floor, be it a park in a community, be it a church pulpit. But we want to talk about your fitness side of your ministry, your personal fitness side. And with your rigorous schedule that you have, I still see that you're fit. I still see on your Instagram, on your social media outlets that you're either running. You know, I saw we're going to talk about too how you had a little incident with that Achilles, and but you're keeping up with your body. First of all, can you tell us, is there a particular routine that you follow with your exercise regimen?
Yeah, I try my best to get in the gym 4 to 5 days a week.
Wow.
I try my best to run at least 1 mile, 1 to 2 miles each time I go. A few years ago, I was doing a lot of running. Actually, I was preparing for a half marathon in Bermuda.
Wow.
And but after my Achilles injury, I kind of cut down the running some. But the health and fitness for me is important. It's kind of become a way of life, a lifestyle, and a hobby. I really don't have. I don't do video games. I don't really play basketball on the weekends like that. If I'm not spending time with my wife and daughter, you know, I like to just go to the gym in the morning. And it kind of gives me some time for me. Yeah. Because, you know, after a certain time of the day, 8, 9 o'clock, my phone's ringing, emails going off, Twitter, text messages. It's a lot. And so that's kind of a time when I can kind of just take care of me.
Wow. Now, do you remember ever having a moment where you said, okay, I'm going to do the gym? Or is it just been something since you can remember that you've always been kind of active, physical? Or was there a moment where you said, okay, I have a rigorous schedule, I need to take care of myself? Which one kind of came first, or did it just kind of all?
I've always been kind of pretty active, hyperactive. And when I got to college, was always doing push-ups, was always kind of into, fitness and health. It was kind of always in me. But I never, it wasn't like a thing. It was just something I just did. I really didn't take it serious. But when I hit the age of 30, had to clear my throat on that one. Yeah. When I hit the age of 30, I was like, okay, I'm young. I want to stay in good shape. Like my grandma is 72 and she runs a couple of miles a day. She's fit. People can't believe how old she is and how good she looks. And she says, hey, I'm just trying to hold on to what I have. And so to see her diet and her exercise and how she's been living for 72 years, she's more fit and more in shape than the average, female,
Yes.
And so for me, it's become a way of life and a lifestyle, and I begin to, reap the health benefits from it.
Okay. Now, you're on the road a lot.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about why you're on the road a lot a little later in this conversation. But do you have, when you go to a particular place, are you seeking out a gym, or are you just saying, no matter where I am, I'm going to get outside and I'm going to do some exercise? What is your thought process when you're traveling? Yeah,
that is important for me. I try to be as consistent with that when I'm on the road as I am at home, but I've had some challenges there. Like I just recently did something at a university where I stayed on campus and I went to their gym. Then when I got into the hotel, I used the hotel gym. Then I found the local LA Fitness. So I try to find a gym, some type of way to go in and exercise. But at the same time, sometimes it's good for me to rest. God created the earth 6 days, and the 7th day he said to rest. So I try to make sure I have those pockets when I can rest, because all the travel and I'm around a lot of people, my immune system is constantly fighting. I'm always shaking hands. I'm always looking for some Germ-X, because I've seen people wipe their sweat from their forehead and give me that same hand and say, great message. And I'm thinking like, wow. And so I try to keep my immune. So sometimes I just need to rest. Even though I want to go and work out, I'm like, I just need to just rest. And sometimes I feel guilty, but I try to take care of my body, and I try to listen to what my body is telling me.
Jeremy, that is a great point that you brought about talking about rest. And I like to interject a little bit of science when I can.
Good.
And this is one of those times. When we rest, what is actually going on in our bodies is at a scientific level what you just described. Your immune system is getting rejuvenated. Your cells are actually able to repair themselves from the damage of the antioxidants that you've been exposed to. I'm sorry, not the antioxidants, the free radicals that you've been exposed to throughout the day. Somebody's sweat, somebody's coughing, the pollutants in the air. And that's why we need to put the right fuel inside of our bodies so that when we rest, when we exercise and rest and do that cycle, our body is doing exactly what it was designed to do. And so when we get in the proper nutrients through antioxidants, through the plant-based diets, when we look at our plate and we add more color to our plate. I had a nutritionist in a couple of weeks ago, and she said something as simple as looking at the colors on your plate can help you make better food choices. She was like, it doesn't have to be complicated. People try and make this healthy food revolution so complicated. She said, just add more color to your plate. Add more greens. She said half of your plate should be greens and fruits. Veggies and fruits, that salad, that big salad with a lot of other things on it. And that's where the antioxidants come in to help repair the cell's damage of the day. And in this rush world that we live in, the point about rest is so important. I think we wear our sleep deprivation as a badge sometimes.
Yeah.
It's,
I'm busy. I'm always busy. That's not a good thing. Yeah.
Exactly. So in this, now you're telling me something else. You're being intentional about taking care of your body. You're not just saying, oh, well, if they have, then I'll go. No, you said, okay, when I go, I'm going to use this. Okay, when I go, if the LA Fitness is available, I'll use that. If I can't, then I'll make sure I'm doing something to take care of my body in doing exercise, doing some type of work. And so we have to be intentional. The next thing I want to talk to you about is there a particular diet that you follow? When we talk about the fuel sources now, I mean, we haven't talked about this, but I'm just curious. Is there a particular diet that you follow?
You know, if you ask any health enthusiast or any personal trainer, they'll tell you it's probably 70-30, diet and exercise. So the exercise, the weightlifting, the CrossFit, the fitness, all of that is a small portion. The big portion is diet. Yeah. And so I try my best to really be disciplined with just my mind and my character, period. Yeah. For a period of about a year and a half, I went on like a no sweets and only water fast. So I wasn't drinking juice and soda pop. I was just drinking only water. I wasn't eating any sweets. It was just more a discipline thing. Like, let me see if I can do it. I've transitioned since then, but I do drink a lot of water. My wife got sick, and she went to this treatment center called Wildwood, and they put her on a strict plant-based vegan diet. I didn't quite go that deep, but I did become vegetarian, as some would say a flexitarian, because I do eat salmon or halibut. I don't fool with the tilapia though.
Yes,
but
sir.
Yeah.
Yes,
sir. But I eat a lot of fish and try to eat a lot of salads. I try to eat healthy, you know. It doesn't mean I don't have French fries sometimes. It doesn't mean I don't eat pizza from time to time.
Exactly.
I think all of that in moderation, but I do try to make sure that I eat good. And I know for me, on a good day, I've got a really, really big breakfast, a regular size lunch, and a small dinner. And that's not always possible, but I try my best to operate that way.
You know, I keep hearing an undertone of intentionality. You're being intentional about what you're doing. It's not just, oh well, whatever happens. And like you said, it's all in moderation. It's not about if I fall off the wagon today, oh well, right. You know. But what you're doing is something that I just recently started thinking about myself, is that you're stringing along more good days. So that you can have a good week. So that's then you start stringing along more weeks, so you have a good month. And then you start stringing along those months, and you have a good year. And because now you are full, your cup is full, you're able to overflow and give an overwhelming dose of yourself, of whatever God has in store for your audiences or the people's lives that you're just touching. And this is where I want us to start transitioning to and talk about the Grace Tour. So can you tell us, what is the Grace Tour?
The Grace Tour is a group of knuckleheads, a group of young people, you know, from all walks of life who have been broken. I say that we have a bachelor's in brokenness. You know what I'm saying? We have a doctorate in being damaged. We have a PhD in pain. You know, I've got now on the team about 7 individuals from all walks of life, black, white, Hispanic, Asian, that have experienced a lot of pain. Everything from homelessness to rape, to drug and alcohol abuse, being locked up in prison, not graduating from high school, just broken addictions, issues, and had an encounter with God and experienced God's grace. And now we travel the country and we just speak to people. We just speak life. High schools, universities, middle schools, churches, homeless shelters, detention centers, anybody that's willing to hear, we just try to speak life and tell them it's not too late. And that takes a lot of work. And that is why it's important that we, as even a team, try to stay as healthy and as fit as possible, because we do a lot of traveling. You know, we do a lot of speaking, and that takes a lot when you're speaking in front of people over and over several times throughout the day, back to back to back. That takes a lot of energy. And so it's important for me that when I'm traveling, whether I'm driving or flying somewhere, I try to be as disciplined as possible and intentional. Because if I don't, things that get out of hand. If I don't get a grasp on it, like, I know the nature of me is to naturally just kind of go with the flow, be average, can be complacent. So if I'm not intentional about making this a lifestyle, then I'll never accomplish what I'm trying to accomplish.
Wow. Wow. That's something to really dwell on. You have to make sure that you're being intentional about yourself, that you know your own nature. And because you have this group of people with you, you have to make sure that you're taking care of yourself so that you can help take care of them, that again we can take care of the masses.
And it's draining. Like, I do a lot of training at schools, and what I tell the superintendent or the principals or the teachers is you can only be as good for your student as you are for yourself. And so many teachers are burnt out. And I'm like, if you're not any good, then you're not going to give these students. You're giving them 40%, 60, 70% when they need all of you. And they go through real life too. And so we have to learn when to shut it down. We have to learn when to take care of ourselves, find some things that we can do to pour into ourselves and kind of become the best that we can be so that we can give that to others. So when I'm on that treadmill, when I'm working out, when I stand before the people, I feel good. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel strong, and I'm able to speak from that place of strength. You know, I'm not telling them something I'm not living.
Right.
And so it just feels good. It's natural. It's raw. And I can't explain it. I literally feel good. I feel strong.
Because you're living in your authenticity. You are living, you're speaking from a space in which you are living. You're not speaking from some place that you have no idea about. Man. Now, do you all as a group, when you're together, do you all do any fitness or?
The guys do.
Okay.
The guys do. The girls, sometimes they'll roll, but they tend to kind of do their own
thing.
Because we'll go hardcore.
Right.
And we do a lot of basketball, and that's when I ruptured my Achilles. We were touring in Ohio. And we did Canton and Cleveland, and I was playing ball with some young guys. We was winning too. Dr. Mack, listen to me. We was winning. I'm 36 this year. We winning, and these young guys, they're 18, 19, 20. They like 6'2". They dunking. We was winning, and I came down off a shot. I missed a shot too, and ruptured my Achilles.
Yikes.
And so then I had to go through a process of physical therapy and all of that, and strengthening my calf, and it was a process. But even then, God was like, I gotta slow you down.
What did you learn in that process?
I just learned to kind of just trust the process, to go with the flow. I had to depend more on people, and we take so much for granted, especially here in the U.S. We take so much for granted, from our health to our life fitness, like just the financial position we're in. It's totally different when you travel to India and other countries, and people want to give you their baby because they know that their child will have a better life with you. Like, I've seen the slums. Like, people talk about Detroit and Chicago and some of these inner city Skid Row. I'm like, yeah, but they got clothes. They got at least shoes if they homeless. You know what I'm saying? They gonna get some food or something. But when you go other places and people don't have nothing, like they trying to look for rice and they got scabs and stuff on their feet because they ain't wore socks or shoes in a month, like, it's totally different. And so I believe we take so much for granted. And so I think in that time when I couldn't walk, I'll never forget taking the cast off and I was able to take the first 3 steps. I was so elated, and I was just like, man, I have so much to be grateful for. Like, all these things we complain about traffic. That's, you know what I'm saying? We complain about, I'm gonna miss the movie, or this was burnt. Like, those are first world problems. You know what I'm saying? You mess around and go to some of these third world countries, and it's totally different. And so when I ruptured my Achilles and I was finally able to walk, God was showing me, look how blessed you are. So I'm like, man, with every step, it's like a blessing. And so when I was in the cast and I'm in the wheelchair in the airport and I'm seeing people walk, I was fascinated with every step. I'm like, babe, look at that stride. She's like, what? He's walking. I'm like, yeah, but look at the strut. Look how she's walking in those heels. It just blew my mind. I couldn't wait to be able to walk again, to be able to put on some Nikes and just walk. I'm looking at guys like, ooh, get it. And all he doing is walking. But I'm rooting for walking because I can't walk. And I was just like, man, I cannot wait to walk again. And God was just like, do you see how blessed you are to be able to walk? Like, you wake up in the morning and you just walk to the bathroom and you don't even think that there's people with an amputated leg that can't walk. And so it really gave me a lot to be thankful for. And in that season, God was just like, I want you just to slow down, and I'm about to show you how grateful you should be.
Wow. Man.
And one more thing it taught me, I didn't stretch before that basketball game. So since we're talking about health, for those of us that's listening, I want you to know that, if you're going to work out and you're going to take on this diet thing, like, do it the right way.
Yes.
You might need to invest into a personal trainer.
Yes.
One thing I recognize, we only get one body. It's not like if this goes wrong, we can go and find another body. Now, the way technology is, I don't know, 30 years from now.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they're talking about some
crazy
really
stuff.
crazy stuff on
Yeah.
Star Talk
Right,
radio.
right.
I mean,
But
right now, this is what we have.
One body. And so I got to take care of this one body and do the best I can with this one body that God has given me.
Jeremy. I don't even know. This is the one interview I'm probably speechless, y'all. This is so good. You talked about stretching. You talked about doing things the right way. And that is something that I think gets lost in translation sometimes, where we're saying, okay, well, let's just go work out. Let me just start. Let me just get going. But there is a process. There's procedure. We really need to recognize, and I talk about this, here. I said, people that listen to the podcast know that we are people of faith here, and I believe in an intelligent God, and He designed this body so intelligently. And it's why we are to put certain things in our body. It's why we are to do certain things, because when you stretch properly, you have an attachment to the bone that the muscles have through a tendon. There's an insertion point. There's an origin point of that muscle. And what happens is you're supposed to stretch it so that it starts understanding and gets in its memory, okay, I need to be able to go to this angle. I'm going to come back to this angle. And so when you stretch, the muscle is starting to work itself and going, okay, and it begins to warm up and produce energy and produce some heat. And so that when you're doing that rigorous exercise, it doesn't all of a sudden just pop.
Right.
And that's a great point you brought out. You didn't stretch before that.
Right. And typically, because I'm in my middle 30s, I knew better. But I don't know what I was thinking. We went on the court, was shooting around. Out. Next thing I knew, we had next. And I went out there and I came down off of a missed shot and it just popped. But I know, had I stretched and took those 5 minutes, because I'm not 18 anymore.
Exactly.
And so I think a lot of people sometimes, though you might look and feel young, your body is still growing, and so it's important that you do the proper stretching so that you can get the best out of your body. It's just like, if you got an older truck during the wintertime, you don't just crank it up like a brand new 2016 model. You gotta let that thing run for a little bit. It's the same thing with our body.
Right. Oh my goodness. Okay, Jeremy, I'm looking at our time, and before we go, I do want to touch on one other thing.
Okay.
You're not only a husband, a father, a speaker, you're an author. And I have a couple little books right here that you've authored. And again, I'm looking at these books and I'm looking at Jeremy. I'm thinking back to Jeremy and I'm going, what? Can you tell us about Spirit Rain Publishing Company, or the division of Spirit Rain Communications?
My father had a vision, and he had a vision of putting together a company that would produce books and feature films and inspirational things that would help enhance and change the lives of people. And for years, he was looking for business partners and friends and colleagues to help him. And one day he said, you've already got your team, and that team is under your roof. And I'm proud to say that Spirit Rain Communications and Publishing is a family-run business. Me, my wife, my sister, my two brothers, my mom, and my dad do 95% of the business and the work. And so they publish all my books.
Awesome. I mean, I'm looking at the Modern Disciple series, and these are workbooks that you can take to a group and work through these topics.
Yep.
And this was your inaugural book, correct?
Correct.
From Prodigal to Prodigy. And the foreword in here is by Dr. Eric Thomas. And I was reading the foreword and I was just like, oh my goodness gracious, this is great. This is good. This is good stuff. And he talked about how he believes this book will reintroduce reading to our youth. because it's such a lost art.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, this is not just a story about a young man. It's a story about life and transitioning and moving forward and not staying static.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe just looking at what's going on just from the outside, from my personal opinion, just looking at your ministry with your family and your wife and moving forward, you're constantly evolving into what is supposed to be next. And so we will have the links to all of your social media and the books. And how can people get in touch with you, Jeremy, if they want you to come and just bless and pour a word into their youth or their schools? You speak at schools, you speak at churches, you speak to communities. I mean, how can they get in touch with you?
They can go to the website, jeremyanderson.org. And everything would be there, JeremyAnderson.org. JeremyAnderson.org, and all of my social media stuff is there. I've got over 60 videos on YouTube, and got a bunch of books, and I'm here to serve.
Wonderful. Jeremy, before we leave, I usually ask my guests to give our community a tip of the day.
Okay.
Be it, it can be on the topic we're talking about, which is fitness and being on the go, life on the go, or it could be anything that's on your heart that you want to leave with the community. So could you give our community a tip of the day?
Yeah, my tip of the day would be to be a farmer. And when I say be a farmer, a farmer has an interesting job. They have a season of sowing and they have a season of reaping. And the problem with most people today is they want to reap, and they don't ever want to take the time to sow. And so a lot of people look at the success that I've been blessed to experience by the grace of God over the past 6 or 7 years. I've just tried to put my focus on sowing, and not really reaping. I just believe if I sow, I'm going to reap. I'm going to reap what I sow. And so our nonprofit, Next Level Living, it's all about going to that next level. And so all I want to do is just keep sowing into others, keep giving, keep pouring, keep encouraging, trying my best to be consistent. And that can be hard at times. But I believe the more that I sow, the more eventually I'll reap. And that's what I do. So like right now, 2016, my calendar is probably 70%, booked up for the year. So really my focus right now, everything I do is to sow. I'm going to reap that in 2017 and 2018. And so I would just tell anybody that's listening to this today, I would just say to every day in life, just trust the process. Just keep sowing. Just keep pouring into others. Become the best you that you can be. And you're going to look up and that one day that was successful will be a week. It'll be a month. It'll be a year. And then you'll look up, you've had years of success, And so a lot of people get stuck on the fact that, man, I'm like a caterpillar. Well, a caterpillar doesn't always stay a caterpillar. It eventually evolves into a butterfly. It's a process. But it had to make some decisions and it stuck with that decision that it made. And then its life changed forever. So I would tell the readers to be, or the viewers or the listeners to be a farmer. Just keep sowing. You're eventually going to reap what God has in store for you to reap, and just be consistent. And the natural process of life and success will take its place. One thing I know is God wants us all to be successful. He wants to bless us, and I believe He'll bless us with what He can trust us with.
And with that, community, we'll see you back here next time. Bye now.